Members,
Brian Champion.
thank you, yes. And committee members had a chance to look over the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. It's good to see everyone. And this, of course, same group. We had a meeting with the city school board last night, and it's always good for us, these two bodies, to get together, and I really appreciate the mayor, and what he had to say last night, especially in the proposal for some help with athletic departments of our city schools. That was a great job. Okay.
Can I make one, just?
Yes, sir.
I've got my really nice coffee cup here from Caring Days
Yeah?
to remind me to announce that Saturday at University Mall at 9:30 is their annual fundraising.
Walk to
Caring-
Remember.
Walk to Remember. So even if you don't go walk, go by and see them.
That's great. That's great. They do. This is also, Councilor Fell, you probably know, this is their first time back for the
Right.
Walk to Remember because of COVID.
And they do a great job.
Absolutely do a great job. I saw where you met with LaDerrick.
Yeah, he's wow. I was blown away by
Yeah,
Derek.
yeah.
I really was.
Very impressive organization. All right, we'll start with you, Mr. Junkin, or Virgil. I think y'all play with me. When I say Barry, Virgil gets up. When I say Virgil, Barry gets up. We've got a new addition to pre-council. We have Podium, Mr. Podium,
All right.
so anybody that dresses pre-council, head that way.
So this is for the condemnation of 37, 27, 24th Street. Property's been vacant for at least 12 years. In the 12 years, the owner has boarded the side windows only and cut the grass. We sent out notifications on June the 10th, 2022. Owner signed for the notifications June 27th. Hearing notification was mailed out August 3rd. The mailing was not returned. We called the owner on the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, and the 23rd. Never got an answer. We left a message on three of those, 18th, 19th, and 23rd. He has not returned our calls. We've also texted him on the 19th and 22nd, and he's not responded. We tried to refer this one over to OCA. They may have some input on this one.
We also had Barry check the status of the latest certified mailing, and it has been unclaimed, so it's being returned. The man did not pick up the certified mail. So at this point, I'm not sure what we can do more to notify this individual. He's had every opportunity. The last time I believe that inspections actually spoke to this gentleman was in May, is that right? And he understood what was happening.
Yes.
That's right by Solomon Heights.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's right.
It is an eyesore.
Pass that every day.
It's an eyesore.
What housing code, I mean, is it simply abandoned and boarded up? Or is there
You're
an
seeing the
endangerment
door
to
right
the,
there. See the front door is open
ah,
to the public. Over the past, I've been here 5 years, and over the past 5 years, I know we've had instances of vagrants living in there with no power, no water. They've been in and out.
where is the foundation underneath the house on the left
Yeah,
side?
Poles, or is it planted trees?
It looks like somebody just brought the house there and set it down.
Wizard of Oz.
The house needs to go back to Kansas.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It dropped on the
It's actually, I think it's just dirty on the foundation.
Okay.
It's what it is, but yeah, it does look like it's kind of floating there. doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does.
So, what are you
What are you-
recommending?
Yeah.
And right now, if it's not, the door's just stood up and it's just propped up. It's not even put back in place properly.
Both set those together.
You know, we gotta get rid of blight. Yeah, and, it's unfortunate that we have not had any responses, but we gotta get it down. We want people to be safe, and we wanna rid our community of blight.
Yeah, the owner of this property actually lives in Pontiac, Michigan. So he's not a state owner. But the minute Barry was out there taking pictures of it, he called him like 20 minutes later.
Somebody
Really?
So he knew he was out there taking pictures. He knows all this process is
wow.
going on.
Wow.
Cause Barry talked to him on that day. That was the day you talked to him, wasn't it?
So you know where his house, you know where he lives and his address in Pontiac, Michigan.
Yes,
And he knows that he has a dilapidated house in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
yes. Back in May when we took those pictures, he called me and I told him that we were planning to condemn it. He said he wanted to save the house. I told him to go ahead and pull a permit and get started working on it. By the time we get ready to post it, we'll go to post it and let you just proceed on with the repairs under inspection.
Right. And has he done that?
That's
So the only recourse, if we go ahead on and condemn it to be torn down, then he would have how many days to appeal?
and
Okay.
we'll notify him tonight and in the morning
Thank you.
to let him know that it's been condemned. He's got 10 days from today to get it, to hold it off. I don't know what more we can do as far as making contact with him.
Thank you.
Okay, is that
We got one
one more? Okay,
This is 3309 21st Street. This is for the condemnation of the main house and the accessory building behind it. The owner is not in any position to repair it. She said for the city to go ahead and tear it down, and the house and the shed.
We'll
okay.
probably do it cheaper than somebody she could hire.
This is one half a dozen of another, but yeah.
Just Cassius, who's this?
Is it this? What?
This is no, this is District 1 as well.
Yeah, I feel this sounds good. Where is that?
By the way, Cassius will not be here today again. He's still not well.
Your baby's all right?
Yeah, they missed their first birthday, but they.
Where is that? 21st. It's like near.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Recommend, of course, pushing it down as the owner wants, right?
Right.
Okay,
The owner will not be here tonight, you say?
They will not be here. No, sir. And that's all we have for this week.
The only other
Ryan
one
has
that's a surprise visit, we just don't know.
yeah,
He may show up tonight.
okay.
Again.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Mr. Mills,
Well,
go ahead.
I just wanted, let's don't forget Mr. Champion.
Oh, I'm not.
Okay, good, thank you.
All right, good afternoon, Council and Mayor. We have 17 applicants tonight, one public hearing and 16 special events. The public hearing we have is for Avenue Pub LLC, DBA Avenue Pub, going in 2230 University Boulevard. This is a change of location. My next applicant is starting our special events. We have DKE Alumni Game Day, September 17th at 946 University Boulevard. We have DKE Alumni Game Day, September 24th at 946 University Boulevard. We have Phi Gown at September 17th at 976 University Boulevard. We have Phi Gown, September 24th, 976 University Boulevard. We have SAE, September 17th at 432 University Boulevard. Have SAE, September 24th for 432 University Boulevard. We have KA Alumni Game Day for September 17th at 416 University Boulevard. KA Alumni Game Day, September 24th at 416 University Boulevard. ATO Alumni Game Day for September 17th at 332 University Boulevard. ATO September 24th at 332 University Boulevard. The next we have Phi Psi Alumni September 17th at 312 University Boulevard. Phi Psi September 24th at 312 University Boulevard. The next two applications, the applicant asked to withdraw these. That's September 17th for SIG Ep at 304 University Boulevard. September 24th for SIG Ep at 304 University Boulevard. And then my last two, we have Sigma Nu September 17th at 990 University Boulevard. And we have Sigma Nu September 24th at 990 University Boulevard. And again, SIG Ep 304 University Boulevard for the 17th and 24th. The applicant wishes to withdraw those two.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Mills? Thank you, sir.
Sir.
You're a busy man for sure. Zach, you're up.
All right, we have four items for you guys today, 2 public hearings and then 2 just intros that y'all are setting public hearing dates for. So first, this is R&R Cigar, y'all are familiar with. It's been tabled once before, so Mr. Starner, yes. And Mr. Winter's here. I'll just go through this real quick. So y'all are familiar with the location here. It was unanimously recommended not to be approved at Planning and Zoning Commission. They are requesting to table again. Mr. Winter and staff have met a few times on this and are continuing conversation to see where we can get with. But
Brian?
Mr. Winter can explain a little bit more of that.
Please. We want you on TV.
Oh, gosh.
Put your phone number up there so people can call you if they need a lawyer.
Yeah, in a wreck, pain in the neck, call
There you
Brian
go.
Winter. Catch him cheating, give him a beating. Call him, never mind. Thank you, Ms. City Councilwoman and the gentleman here. Thank you to Ashley and Zach and who else was there? Mr. Woodson was there, and the fire marshal was there. We had some really good meetings. And I think we've cleared up a lot of, I don't want to say miscommunication, but misunderstanding of communications, I would say. And I think we've made a long strides in getting some issues resolved that were prompting the request for this zoning change. We're going to have a follow-up meeting, and I believe Mr. Starner is locked in to come to that and go back through and make sure we have everything squared away. So with your indulgence and patience, I think we hopefully will not be able to need this request and move forward in a different direction that won't require your time or energy. So if you could indulge me for one more time so that we can get everybody back together. I think we're scheduled for next Monday, maybe. That would be wonderful.
So you're asking for a week, another week?
2 weeks would be
2
better.
weeks? Okay.
That'd be easier.
That good, Ashley? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. Okay. Mr. Pons?
And just a note on that, so 2 weeks from today would be the September 6th meeting, so that's why it's September 13th up there.
We're not gonna.
Because
meet
y'all
on
aren't
this-
gonna meet on the 6th, on the 6th.
No.
So it'll technically be 3 weeks.
Okay, yes.
Starting
at 1:30.
All right, we have another public hearing for you. Sorry? Okay. We have another public hearing for you guys, North River Marina Condominiums. So this is a mixed-use development with 34 residential condominium units. There's also a restaurant and a marina store component, as well as an upgrade to their docks and things like that. But tonight specifically, and what you guys are voting on and looking at specifically are the condominium units, the 34 units, as part of the planned unit development that they've submitted. So here's the property in North River Yacht Club. You can see the marina there. So to the south of the marina is that captain's cabin. You can't really see it too clearly, but that southern portion is where we're looking at specifically. And so they are proposing a multi-story, so it's 5 stories. One of them is a basement level story, so ground zero essentially. And then 4 stories above that. Condominiums, so 34 units. There will be 22 bedroom units, 10 3-bedroom units, and 4 1-bedroom units. And they have stated on their PUD application, their narrative, that the owners of the condominium units will be required to maintain a membership at North River. So these are 4 members. Here's that subject property. You see the captain's cabin right there in the middle of the screen. Just to the right of it is an existing, they use it as an event space. That's going to be renovated into more of a restaurant use for specifically their members of North River. And here's the overall site plan. And then we can just kind of get into some details. So they are proposing a marina store, but again, the marina store and the restaurant are not coming to you guys tonight for approval. It's just those condominiums, but I just wanted to show you the overall project. So here is the ground zero. So you would be able to see these from the lake. The lake is just to the south and east of this. And then as you move up, you have a pool on that level with more units. And then you have underground parking there on the next story. And the parking is 3, so it's 2 underground portions and then the top story. So as we move up, you'll see that. But all of that is behind, so you won't see the parking from the river, or from the lake, essentially. And then moving up, this is the second level of parking, and then the top level here. And so that's where you'll be able to access that. And then there's one more story above that. Just to kind of give you an idea of what that five-story structure might look like. Here's some renderings. So again, this is coming over the parking structure there. There will be parking. That's where you enter that kind of first story, and then there's one story above that. And then from the lake, in front of you is that renovated restaurant area. You've got the captain's cabin that currently exists today, and then the condominium units above, and then just another view of that restaurant portion. So with Framework, it doesn't conform to Framework. Framework identifies this as open space and recreation. However, as you can see here, the open space and recreation is designated for city and county parks, etc., as well as private golf courses. And so when we were looking at this with Framework, the owner of this specific parcel is the same owner as the owner of the golf course within North River Yacht Club. And so it was looped in with the open space kind of designation. And so in reality, it likely would be better suited for lakeside living, which is that blue that you see kind of everywhere else in this land use character map on your screen here. And this was recommended for approval by Planning and Zoning Commission.
Zach,
Yes, sir.
there have been a lot of, I want to go back and confirm what you said again so people know this, because I think there's been a lot of confusion about what the vote was, what the vote is for tonight. The vote tonight is to approve the PUD for just the condominiums.
That's correct.
There have been a lot of questions about the docks, the boat slips, the safety that would be around that. There's also stuff that I want, and I know Andy will be here tonight, and I think
Yes,
Jason
sir.
will be here too, but to talk a little bit about, there's been discussion about the wake buoys, and I know when I talked to James this week, that's a state issue, not a city issue, but I think there are people that are requesting those buoys to be moved back to keep that wake zone further, in that area. There's also an issue about the gas station with Blue Heron Marina closing. Is the gas station going to be open to the public, or is it just going to be for North River Yacht Club members? I think that's something that needs to be answered. The same thing with the restaurant. And I do think that the rendering is unbelievable of these condominiums. I mean, I think they look great. I think the question is, I have been told that they are actually sitting back further than what this looks like, that it's not going to be as towering as some of the residents are concerned about. So I think that needs to be addressed before, I guess I personally would want us to vote, because you've got 34 condos on 14.7 acres, so I don't think there's any type of overbuild going on with that, right? Because we've talked through this
Yes,
a
sir.
lot. But I think there's not a density issue, I guess, with that. But then also the development setting back a little bit more, I think it would be helpful, and I'm hoping that Andy brings something tonight to show maybe a little better rendering, because again, I think that is unbelievable what they're talking about doing. I think the issue that I'm hearing from are people, is the boat traffic, is the slips, is a separate process that we are not voting on. Correct?
Correct. Yes, sir. So we're
And
just
what
looking
is the
at-
process? How does that work?
So the Lakes Division handles anything within the acquisition line, which is on the lake side. So all of the docks, all of the slips, everything like that is going to go through the Lakes Division and then end up to you guys.
And then
for
it comes
final.
back to council.
Yes, sir.
So the Lakes Division, I know James and his team, they will work with the developer to look at all this and say, hey, maybe this doesn't look good, just try
Yes,
to
sir.
work through those issues, hopefully before that comes back to us.
So yeah,
And then we'll have them here to have this discussion.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So they'll try and get it to a place where it's appropriate to bring to you guys, but of course, you know, just like with any project that we have, the developers want something that, you know, they're gonna bring it forward to you guys. That might not be the recommendation of staff, so.
Based on
But the hope
Mr.
is to work with them.
Mr. President, the feedback that I've gotten, and I think several of y'all have been called, I really would like for this to be tabled a week. But the discussion tonight to go through, because I think it's important for people to understand exactly what we're voting on next week, but really to understand the whole project and the concept. So that's, you know, I guess things could change tonight, Mr. President, but I mean, that's kind of where I'm leaning toward asking y'all to do.
Councilor Crowe, I agree. We talked a long time last night because I had received many of the calls, and the concerns were the towering appearance of this was not welcomed, but I understand it's further back, and would like to make sure that that's the case. And also the slips and the gas station were the most kind of fervent concerns there were last night or yesterday. And I did tell Councilor Crowe, a couple of them that you had hoped that we would table this for a week.
And have some more discussion.
And have some more discussion.
Before we vote next Tuesday. I think that's probably the prudent thing to do, because there are a lot of people who felt like they did not have a voice in this. But I think Mr. Turner's also going to address part of that tonight. And I think
Yes, sir.
that's important for my friends on the council too, to ask questions.
Yes, sir, yeah.
Okay.
And just to clarify from the narrative, they have stated that the gas station and the Marina store, the gas area in the Marina store would be open to the public. However, the restaurant is strictly for
Members only.
members.
Oh, wow.
That's their concept.
That's
currently.
something else that I'd like to have that week to talk to you about, because I'd heard a conflicting about the restaurant from actually somebody I talked to Norman last night about that wants to oversee the restaurant, and his ideas seem to be different from what I'm hearing now, so.
But I think the good thing, President Tyner, is that issue comes up next. That issue is not
That's correct.
in the PUD. So I think we need to deal with that, but hear from the people on the lake issue that's right there. I think that's, to me, has been the biggest
I agree.
issue and the complaints that I've gotten. So
Norm, is there anything related purely to the condominium piece that needs to be clarified?
I would personally like to see a better representation of some of the issues that have been brought up about how the setbackness of the, I'm not saying that right, that the development, I don't think is as prominent as what it is showing there, based on what a couple of engineers and people told me, that there is more, it's set back a little bit more into the hill. So I think he's supposed to present a rendering tonight, Mr. Busby. But I think it would be good to discuss all that with these residents
I agree.
before we vote. So.
I think that's very wise to do. Councilor Crowe, good.
Well, no, thank you.
Anybody? Okay, you got two more, right?
Got two more.
Okay.
These are just, this is introducing zoning amendment 1484. So this is rezoning what you guys had just annexed into the city for the airport property.
Right.
So you can see when they come into the city, they're zoned R1, and as you can see on this zoning map here, all of the property to the north of it that is the airport is institutional, and so this is just rezoning that to institutional. So you're setting a public hearing date for the 27th. And then the next one is setting a public hearing date for the gastropub as a conditional use for social cantina. So this is, or SoCal Cantina. So this is on the strip, or on the downtown 2308 University Boulevard, on this location here. So it's about four over from De Palma's, just to give you an idea of where that's located. And there's the property as it sits today. And these are just what you look at in relation to approving a conditional use for a gastropub, which we'll get into on the day of the meeting. But you will be setting a public hearing date for September 13th. That's all I've got for you.
Any questions for Mr. Pons?
And Zach, will you make sure that we have the documentation that tells us about gastropub so that we can,
Yes, sir.
Please, thank
Yeah, and
you.
I can get that to you as early as today. if
Thank
like
you.
that.
Thank you very much. Before I call on you, Mayor, I would like to, Officer Champion, has something you'd like to share with the council this afternoon.
Yeah.
Welcome, Brian.
Good evening, Council, Mayor.
Good evening.
A while back, after we got done with Motel 6, we were asked to start checking a couple of apartment complexes that Councilman Fell and Councilman Odom and them had some issues with, that tenants and stuff had called and left messages for. Started checking Forester Garden on July 7th. We found out that they had been foreclosed on in May of 2019. The PNC Bank also, when they foreclosed on Forester Gardens and Creekwood. So nobody had business license, paid any taxes or anything to the city since then. The Preservation Management Company, we've talked and wrote citations to them for them to get their business license. As of last week, according to revenue, they have wired $95,000 in back fees and payments to the city.
Wow.
For their tenants.
That's a big
schedules.
deal.
That is a big deal, and, you know, I just received an email this morning, from some constituents that had some major concerns about their living conditions over there.
Well,
So I hope we can definitely get this,
to piggyback on that, I got another call this morning from Forester Gardens.
Okay.
yeah.
The question is, they've been promised, more or less, and you know more about this than I do, obviously, that there were gonna be some more apartments available in there. Is there any idea when some of these people can move out of these places you wouldn't wanna be in?
The apartments and stuff that we checked, and when I say we, the fire marshals and building inspectors went in and did all the checks for me, give me their expertise on them. And the list that I was given, they did not have many vacant apartments to move people around in. There might have been 10 apartments in the whole thing, and 2 of those have been stripped down to the stud walls without the proper permits or anything.
And these apartments are not just income-based, are they? Are all of them income-based?
A few of them are, yes.
Okay, thank you.
In both locations.
Yes, ma'am.
Neither of these apartment complexes are in my district, but I have, unfortunately had to work with individuals that live in those apartment complexes. And so I know and seen firsthand, like if you haven't been there,
It's
you
awful.
probably, it's very awful. So I don't know what the city is recommending or what they're trying to do, but it's not a good business practice for how they manage the
Well, we can't shut it down, because where would these people
People
go?
live.
Yeah.
They've gotta live somewhere.
But we got a mandate that
Well, I
they get them
think-
fixed some kind of way.
Exactly.
Building
man.
inspectors have given them to, I think, November the 4th to get everything that they
to
sent to
code.
them to get everything up to code. Then after that, we'll see where we need to go with them from there.
Officer, so that 95,000, does that bring them up to,
Is that both?
That was both properties
that brings them
together.
up to where they should be operating?
Yes, sir.
No penalties?
That
I
was,
would imagine,
from my understanding, there
Mayor,
was penalties and everything in with that.
Would there be
from-
penalties added to that?
I wasn't aware of that.
Oh, wow.
Right. That's why I appreciate you
Carly, there would probably be some late fees.
coming
on that one.
today.
There should be.
Scott, that brings
There
up,
are times when agreements are made that we will waive certain penalties, or if they'll just pay us.
Pay it.
if they pay in full
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Scott, in situations, such as this, a lot of times when we have landlord type of issues, I'm having bad contact problems today, I'm sorry. That's, many times when I get calls from people such as this, sometimes it's a private, what you could say, civil matter, I guess you'd say. So I always, a lot of time will refer them to legal services, or, because they can't afford attorneys most time. And especially Brian Winter. But or the UA Law School, they do a great job, they really do. But this is something that, when situations like that, it's nothing really we can do, is it?
We don't have a lot of jurisdiction, especially once we get outside the building and fire codes. We don't have as much jurisdiction inside as somebody such as the health department may have. But I agree with you. The UA Law Clinic or legal services would be a good place to go. Maybe several of these folks getting together and making an appointment with legal services may, if nothing else, speed up some of the process.
Well,
that you're looking for.
I've been really pleased with, just like landlord issues,
Yes.
the things that I certainly can't get involved in the middle of. But they seem to take their job really seriously, the law school and legal services, and
Yes.
really try to help if they can. Or they'll tell you right up front, this is something that we can't do.
How many affected people are we talking about? 6 or 50 or?
No, a whole
There's
complex.
Yes.
100?
Forester Garden Complex
whole
is
complex.
136 apartments. Creekwood Village, I believe, is 124 apartments.
I could give you a lot of horror stories about it, but there are things I know at Creekwood Village that DHR would require you to have as a safety precaution, and the apartment complex won't fix them. It doesn't matter who reports it. Yeah, and then on the public safety tip, the way that you feel about your living environment really does affect how you interact in that community. So a lot of that stuff, it needs to be done away with.
Well, and I'm wondering, Scott, these are Section 8, much of it's Section 8. Does the federal government have any jurisdiction in this? Would that be a waste of time?
I presume so. I
there's
don't
some
see
people that
Terry
The
in here. He'd
housing
know more
authority
about.
Full
provides
rent, right.
vouchers where the individuals
Exactly,
live
you're
in, and it's my understanding as part of that Section 8 program, there has to be some sort of annual inspection related to that.
Apparently it's not happening.
There's a Fair Housing Act that there are some, I just actually looked at this last week for something else. There is a Fair Housing Act that provides protection for folks like this, especially if there's safety issues. So if there's somebody who'd like to talk about it, I'd be happy to visit with pro bono, to just visit with them to see what the issues are, and we can go from there.
That's
Yeah.
good to know information.
I'm not saying I'm taking on.
136 units.
But you know,
Yeah.
some
We're just a country law firm trying to make a living.
some of the people that live there, they're like they can't afford $1,200 rent.
Yeah.
But then they can pay $700 or $800, and so they're paying $700 or $800 living in there. So you have a very
It is.
mixture of economically challenged people.
And the people I've talked
and there's some
to,
good people too.
and
And they
Brian's
pay their
talked
money on time.
to more of them than I have, Matthew, but the people I've talked to are working.
Oh yeah, they work.
They're
And they're
working.
paying their bills.
Yeah.
And they're living in conditions
The
that
lady having
are
to
not
wash
correct.
everything she's got in the bathtub because no other water runs, you know?
That's
They
a health
have-
and safety issue.
Yeah.
Just so you know that also look this up because this came up. Section 8, which everybody talks about, it's only, from my understanding from the HUD folks, it's only for folks who have jobs with employment.
Right.
It's a subsidy for those who can't afford quality housing and safe housing.
That's true.
But they're making. So if these folks are on Section 8, that doesn't mean they're not good folks. They're
Right.
just sitting around doing nothing. These are working folks. And the government, we all pay taxes so that these folks can have a subsidy to provide them safe,
Right.
quality housing. So there are protections under the FHA for that. Now, like I said, I'd be happy to visit with anybody if you want to help them.
Thank you for that.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. And yeah, it's a bad situation. A lot I get, the landlords will often say, if you don't like it, move.
But they don't have anywhere to go.
Who's the landlord?
Well, different ones.
Well, in this case, the bank right now, they, I guess, am I correct? Is the bank the landlord now?
Yes, sir. PNC Bank owns both properties. So they do have a buyer in mind. Started walking through and this buyer went through. Yes, Creekwood and Forest Gardens were owned by the same person up until 2019. They apparently used that property as collateral for another one, failed on it. PNC Bank foreclosed on them. PNC Bank is out of Kentucky, I do believe.
Pittsburgh.
People that walked through and looked, from my understanding, did not see anything wrong with either apartment complex. Okay. And last week, the lady that is the real estate agent
They were
for
not.
PNC Bank was down here. We talked to her. Mike Cranmore, Trace Neighbors was also there. They got all the information to her so they could get the tax stuff straight with them. And from my understanding, from a few other people, Creekwood is worse than Forester Gardens.
Oh yeah, it's way worse.
I haven't been over there.
We'll be started on it the week after next.
Right, my pick of the weekly.
Thank you for what y'all are doing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All righty. Mayor Maddox.
I'm gonna yield my time to Ms. Johnson for this.
Okay. All right. Randy.
I don't need that much time, but this is just an update for you guys. We have not gotten any applications for Black Warrior solid waste disposal. So if it's okay with y'all, we're gonna go ahead and leave that portal open, and if and or when we get applications, I'll bring them back to you.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Mr. Holmes?
Yes, sir. All right, I'm gonna try out this podium deal. I've never been a good podium guy, so.
Stand behind the podium.
All right, you guys, looks like revenue and UD has taken up most of your agenda, but I am about 3/4 of the way down on, excuse me, page 3 of your agenda. And we'll be starting at page 29, where you'll be approving job class specifications for IT and urban development. That came to admin on the 16th. On page 30 through 31, you'll be authorizing an amendment to the city's agreement and authorizing the mayor to execute an amended agreement with TES under the city's 2020 Emergency Solutions Grant Coronavirus Program. That came to CD Committee on the 16th. On page 32, you'll be authorizing an amendment to the city's agreement and authorizing the mayor to execute an amended agreement with Salvation Army under the city's 2020 Emergency Solutions Grant Coronavirus Program. That again came to CD Committee on the 16th. On page 33, you'll be consenting to the assignment of contracts from BKI to Thompson Engineering. That was in projects last week. On page 34, you'll be authorizing a contract with Motorola Solutions. That was in projects last week. On page 35, you'll be authorizing a minor public works contract with Civil Works Construction LLC. This is a total amount of $46,675. That was in projects last week. On page 36 and 37, you'll be tentatively awarding a public works contract to Mark Johnson Construction. This is for the Ed Love Raw Water Pump Station Improvements Project, and that is a total amount of $18,499,879. And again, y'all discussed that in projects last week. On page 38, you'll be authorizing task order directive number 3 with Jacobs Engineering Group for the Ed Love Water Pump Station Improvements Project. This is the engineering portion of that contract for a not to exceed $815,300. Again, that was in projects last week. On page 39, you'll be authorizing a contract with TTL for professional environmental assessment services. This is a total not to exceed $40,000, and you discussed it in CD Committee. On page 40, you'll be authorizing a special order by consent with the Alabama Department of Environmental Management. That is a total not to exceed $22,600. On page 41, you'll be authorizing disbursement from District 5 improvement funds for Eagle Wings Day Habilitation Program. That's a total amount of $2,500. That is doubled up, and you'll hear about it in finance today. On page 42, you'll be authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to draw drafts for payment of the Commissioner's Award, Commissioner's Fees, and Court Cost and Probate Court Case number 2022-633. This is for the Western Riverwalk Improvement Project.
Scott, is there a particular amount?
There is not an amount yet. We expect the commissioners to come back somewhere right around the 30th of August. We have to go ahead and pay the award plus a bond into court to get access to the property with the Labor Day meeting being canceled. If we go beyond that into September, we're going to be running up on time issues.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. On page 43, you'll be authorizing an amended right-of-way acquisition agreement between the State of Alabama Department of Transportation and the city. This is project number STP-0A6314. This is consisting of widening, striping, and other improvements on Watermelon Road from State Route 6 to Snows Mill Avenue. That is on projects, was that last week or on projects today? My notes say today. On page 44, you'll be authorizing the CFO to draw drafts for the Juanita Drive Phase 2 improvements. That's property acquisitions total of $61,626. This comes from Mr. Bobbitt. He's been busy in your district, Mr. Tyner.
Yes, sir.
Skipping down a little, page 49 through 50, you'll be authorizing the operation of medical cannabis dispensing sites.
Scott,
Yes, sir.
question on that.
Yes, sir.
I know you and I talked about this. I've tried to do a little bit of homework myself on this, and my understanding is there are so many rules in this that have not been established, that there's still kind of in flux on that.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that I think I asked you, how we could handle this, but I would love to see that once those rules are firmly established, that the council would be able to look at this again. To, you know, or how's that gonna work if something comes up that we don't even know about right now? Because to me, we need to leave that flexibility in this, in my opinion.
Yes, sir. There are rules promulgated by the Medical Cannabis Commission that all fit within sort of the established state code framework. I know you and I get discussed. I expect once the state starts taking applications for these licenses, and as you mentioned, things are locked down pretty good. I expect in the next session for us to start seeing some tweaks here and there. I spent a while on the phone with one of the gentlemen down at the Medical Cannabis Association or Commission. I'm sorry. One of my recommendations to him is that they look at adding some sort of ability for a city to go through a larger process, more like an alcohol, like an ABC license type application. Currently, we don't have that authority. All of the regulatory authority lies with the state there. I know you had talked about wanting to come back and kind of revisit and review this as we start seeing kind of the situation on the ground. Well, I'd recommend Mr. Crow is potentially going ahead and putting it on maybe an admin committee agenda and putting that maybe May 1st, June 1st, something like that. Once the session has gotten underway and completed, we'll have a pretty good idea of when it is.
Because, I mean, until you know that, I mean, there could be some differences in these rules.
Yes, sir.
That we've got to revisit this, right?
Yes,
That was the whole reason. I think you just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what y'all think about that?
I was reading the actual act. I think that we do need to be able to have the flexibility to revisit how we're going to do it. I think we need to do it, but I do think we need to have, as a body, governing body, the opportunity to revisit how it acts in our city.
If you like, I'll get with Ms. Johnson and I'll go ahead and calendar it, and we'll find the first admin committee in June. Does that sound like a good place and good timing for y'all?
That's good for John.
June's a long time away. As of right now, it's good.
Well, yeah, we can revisit it sooner or not. What I don't want to do is potentially come back in February and nothing's happened.
Right, I understand. That's fine.
Depending on what the final law is, then we have the right to come back and sit and talk about this again. Because the rules aren't in place yet. You don't know what, I mean, what are we?
I like the idea of looking into it like it was an alcoholic.
I got Scott, you may know more than this. Somebody contacted me yesterday, said there will be 12, but actually 12 licenses, but actually 37 sites. That people can have multiple, they can have multiple shop. In other words, only 12 will get licensed, but there'll be 37 total.
Wow.
There will be, is that
correct?
That is not clear. And that is an issue I've talked with the Cannabis Commission on.
You're talking about statewide, right?
Yes. That's something I've talked to the Cannabis Commission on. That is correct. That is what I sent you the email on, because you have sorry, they break this down fine.
I know it's different.
You have 4 dispensary licenses total statewide. Each of those licensed dispensary licensees can operate up to 3 dispensing sites. So that is 12. I've been helping my son with his math facts. Then you get into a integrated facility license. An integrated facility is, to my understanding, a facility that does both the cultivating, the processing, and also has a distribution side. On that side, the commission will issue no more than 5 integrated facility licenses. Each of those integrated facility licenses can have up to 5 dispensing sites. And so when you add that 5 times 5 plus 12, we end up with 37.
That's
total
where 37
statewide.
comes from. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It was confusing to me. I didn't know.
Still,
This law is set up very different.
That's
than
how
the way
3340
things are.
was. I get, that's where my information came from, was from 3340. And I didn't know how they didn't know either how they got to the 12, because they said you could have, one person could have no more than 5. And I said, well, if it's 12 times 5, that'd be 60. And then they said, no, it's 37. I didn't know.
And I'll be interested to see how some of that works. I mean, to have those other 25, you've got to have the cultivators and the processors get through their license all connected to one.
But all we're doing tonight is just.
You're saying you're not going to prohibit dispensaries in the city limits of the city of
Correct.
Tuscaloosa?
Okay.
Yes.
That's,
For those that are concerned, how many can each county have? Or is
So-
that clear?
It's not gonna be on every corner.
Each county,
just not Northwest High School.
each dispensing site can have one in each county. There is some unclarity as to whether or not if there is one dispensing site, if a integrated facility could open a additional dispensing site within that county. I haven't been able to get a clear answer on that.
So does that mean that it's only one per county? Or if
There's
the
one per
has-
county. If you took the single most liberal possible reading of this and said that once a dispensing site had a license, that each licensee of a integrated facility could have a license, then you could have at maximum 6 per county. That is the most liberal reading. There's a little bit of a language tweak between the integrated facility and the dispensing facility. The strict reading of that says no more than 1 of any type per county. The more liberal says maximum a total of 6 if they opened in the right order.
Scott, you're saying as where we stand today, this is what we would agree to do this in our city. We would agree to have, because they're only gonna be 1 probably, right? That's your understanding?
Yes, sir. If you read this, the liberal interpretation of it, if somebody opened just a solo dispensary license, potentially somebody with an integrated facility license could each one open per licensee 1 in a county. They change the language between the two. So if the commission takes the most liberal reading of this when granting licenses, they could say up to 6 in a county.
But all we are saying is if someone goes through that strict process of the state and they get a license, they could operate in the city of Tuscaloosa.
Yes, sir.
But that does not preclude us from coming back and having I know we'll look at this, but I mean oversight. I mean, I'm still concerned about just what are the final rules. I think we're a little ahead of the cart ahead of the horse on this.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't think we know exactly what the rules are yet.
I would love for us to have more oversight, but the state preempts us from being able to do pretty much anything except for what we're doing, an all-out prohibition or saying we'll allow it in the county. My hope is that we can get that changed.
Okay, my concerns for our June meeting would be oversaturated dispensaries in one area and the distance of, I just want to make sure like all of those rules, like we would give a liquor license or whatever, the same considerations.
And
I agree. I hope we get to do that.
And I will email out the rules that the commission has promulgated thus far, so y'all will have a copy of that. It's on their website, but I can get that.
And one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
With this being, since it's not recreational and it's medical, would
Yes,
that affect like where it's located or give us any say-so on where it's located, like in proximity to schools or places like that?
It is prohibited under state law to be located within 1,000 feet of a school or daycare facility, which is pretty restrictive once you start looking around where there's a school or daycare facility.
Okay.
1,001 feet.
All right, I'm sorry, I got y'all a little off track there. On page 51, you'll be authorizing Amendment 14 to the fiscal year 2022 general fund budget. You will hear about this in finance today. On page 52, you'll be amending Exhibits A and B of Section 19-42 and 19-60A of the Code of Tuscaloosa regarding urban development and IT. You heard about that in admin on the 16th. I do believe we have an executive session on 2 items this afternoon. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Questions for Scott? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Scott. We got a kind of a brief committee meetings today. Projects, finance, public safety has been canceled. The mayor's budget presentation, the city council, of course, on Thursday, this Thursday at 1:30 in the council chambers. And then, of course, next Tuesday, the council budget hearing start at 8 a.m. and a special called admin and policy committee at 5 p.m. on that Tuesday, August the 30th. It's good to have you back, Councilor Howard. I hope everyone's well in your household now.
Thank you.
Yeah, we missed you. And seems like everybody I talk to, somebody's got this COVID is making another round somewhere.
It is.
I talked to Bryant High School Drumline, for example. It's supposed to be in my talent show this weekend. They got 2 drummers out with COVID, so we're hoping they're going to be able to do the show Saturday, but it's going around. Okay, is there a motion we go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes, sir. As your city attorney and an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Alabama, I can certify that this executive session would be to discuss security plans, procedures, assessments, measures or systems, or the security or safety of persons, structures, facilities, or other infrastructures, including without limitation, information concerning critical infrastructure, the public disclosures of which could be reasonably expected to be detrimental to public safety or welfare, as well as to discuss the consideration the governmental body is willing to offer or accept when considering the purchase, sale, exchange, lease, or market value of real property.
Okay, we have a motion second, go into executive session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?